It's holiday season, and that means tons of basketball. And this week on the Tucker's Topics, we're with our guy, Garrett Tucker, in the state of Alabama to talk about some of the events that he was at during this holiday season. But before we dive into all that, Garrett, my man, Happy New Year. Happy holidays to you.
Happy New Year to you. Hope everything was good on the West Coast for you. We had a little bit of snow, and today it's 70 degrees outside, so it's typical Alabama weather.
The latter is much more of the speed in which we're used to out here for sure. Definitely wearing shorts in December and January, which I'm all about. So, I love that kind of action. But hey, I do miss the seasons. And I know down there where you're at, the holiday season means tons and tons of great basketball. You had a chance to go to a couple different events. You went to I got to look at my notes, the Huntsville City Classic and the Metro, two of some of the better events there in the state of Alabama. We're going to talk about them today on Tucker's Topics. And let's just jump right into it. From the very get-go, from the very top, who would you say were the winners, literally and figuratively speaking, from those two events?
So first and foremost, Huntsville City Classic, formerly known as the Huntsville Times Classic, it's been for years one of the top events in the state of Alabama, and it did not disappoint this year at all. Sparkman defeated Baker in the championship game. Just a big, huge win for Sparkman. Back-to-back Huntsville City Classic champions, and another feather in the cap for Jamie Coggins. I feel like every time you're in the Huntsville basketball area, people are talking negatively about Jamie, but all he does is win. He's my biggest winner from this week for sure, to go in and beat a team like Baker, who went on an unbelievable run throughout the week. Hey, Sparkman may not be pretty to watch, but they're going to win. They're going to be in regionals every year, and a lot of that's because of Jamie Coggins, the way they get after it, played defense. So great week for them. It was absolutely just a fun week all around in Huntsville, though.
Listen, man, if you win, it's pretty to me, bro. That's what it's all about. Who said it? Was it Herm Edwards or Dennis Green? You play to win the game. I think it was Herm Edwards, wasn't it? Yeah, you play to win the game. And that's what you do. So if you win ugly, if you win with defense, who gives a crap, man? You're the one holding up the championship at the very end. So shout out to those guys at Sparkman for what they're doing. If we talk about Alabama basketball on holidays, we can't not talk about LeBaron Philon and what he does each and every time he steps out onto the court. And I feel like every time we have a show, he's a talking point. But if you're that good, you kind of become that guy that you talk about. It sounds like he was up to his old antics once again.
He really just, and I think we've talked about this before. I don't want to beat the drum to death, but I mean, like you said, he continues to show he's getting better each time out, showing me something different. And I'll be honest, I was one of the many that kind of thought in the semifinals that Baker wouldn't be able to beat a talented Huntsville High team, but he basically put his team on his back, and they beat Huntsville High. Really, really big win for them. And a lot of people are going to be big on LeBaron's scoring ability, but like I've said before, his passing ability and his the confidence he has in his teammates has been great. He really threw it around, set his teammates up for open shots. So really big weekend for him. I thought he was great and really solidified what we've been pushing here for the past few months. Is he's a he's a 5-star prospect, and I think he's shown that.
And we're going to see that soon. We're working on our rankings as we speak right now, particularly the most surrounded around the class of 2024. So Philon is certainly a guy that we're looking at moving up significantly and really making sure, like you said, he's a 5-star guy, a top 25 guy, but really thinking through about where exactly he stacks up in that list. And every time he plays, I feel like he makes a case that's make it really, really hard for him not to be that across the board, across all the groups out there doing the rankings. So keep your eyes out on that along the way. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about just Huntsville basketball as a whole, just the area. It seems like if you know the South or you know the landscape, there's little pockets. And I remember, I don't know, I feel like 15 years ago that people would kind of whisper, it's a great city to raise a family, is Charlotte, North Carolina. And we certainly see Charlotte kind of grow into this area. And I feel like Huntsville has that similar conversation that's been happening over the last decade or so. And it's not surprising to hear you think that Huntsville's an area that's going to grow because of these young families moving in, and an area that's really nice, been moving down from Nashville. But what is it like? How do you describe the basketball that's in the Huntsville area right now, Garrett?
Well, for the longest time, I've always said Huntsville basketball is underrated. Great. It didn't really hit me, and you mentioned Nashville. I saw several people from Nashville that came down
really
to Huntsville to see this basketball. Just because, talking to some of those guys, they're like, we don't have a big tournament, a Christmas tournament in Nashville, not a public versus private. So it's really, really, it says a lot if somebody's driving 2 hours to Huntsville to watch that. But that's just what people do throughout the year. As they come to watch Huntsville basketball, there's a lot of talented teams. Going right now, Huntsville's really healthy as far as basketball goes. Huntsville High has a lot to do with that. Grissom's really good, obviously Sparkman. But even just this event this year, bringing in a Mountain Brook, a Jacksonville, reigning 4A state champion, and the list goes on and on. Oxford had a lot of good young kids. This may have been the best field I've seen.
Really?
In probably 10 years, me doing it. And then the Huntsville High Baker game, the semifinal, it was a sellout, standing room only. And just watching that game online, I got Trevor Lacey vibes. And for anybody in Huntsville, that's a big deal. Trevor Lacey put on a show. And I don't remember Huntsville High School, that gym being that packed quite like whenever Trevor played against Levi Randolph and Bob Jones. I don't remember what year that would have been, probably 2011, 2012.
Around then, yeah.
For the championship. So it was a great atmosphere. And, hey, Huntsville basketball is where it's at. If you're a basketball hoop head, you got to come witness it. It's very underrated, and there's a lot of good basketball.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Okay, you ready for it? Give me like 1, 2, 3 guys that are underclassmen, freshmen or sophomores from the Huntsville area that are going to be guys that we talk about on a regular basis. You maybe even already mentioned some of them up to this point, but give me a handful of guys that are going to be Huntsville area guys. We got to really make sure we write down with a Sharpie.
So, going through right now, Caleb Harrison at Huntsville High is really good.
Okay.
And somebody that I've really haven't gave a lot of love. He's a senior, is Jamari Man Arnold.
Wait.
Man, yes.
Man. Oh, what an unbelievable nickname. Is that a nickname? That's a nickname, right?
That is, yes.
Man. Dude.
And I haven't always been on the man boat, but he's really gotten better. Going to North Georgia, he's going to win at North Georgia.
Okay.
And so I've got to throw Man in there if I'm mentioning somebody from Huntsville High.
I freaking love it, Man. That is an elite nickname.
It is, yes. Hey, he can ball, and he's one of those guys that's been winning too. So
how did Man's nickname come to become Man?
I'll have to let Man and his dad explain that one, but I think Man rolled off the tongue a little bit better than Jamari. I really don't know.
Man. All right, well, that's investigative journalism that I will support all day. That's phenomenal. Man. Now that might require a pod for us to come up with like the 10 best nicknames of all time.
There you go.
All right, well, let me kind of bring it back a little bit. Let's talk about who emerged and who are the guys that maybe are going to be shooting up the rankings there in the state of Alabama. Were there a couple of guys that really stood out to you from the action that qualify for this segment?
Yeah, so sticking with the underclassmen.
They better have good nicknames if you're going to bring them up.
That's going to be some big shoes to fill. No stranger to the HoopSeen platform, Bryant James. He came out against May Jemison the first day, and I think he hit 6 or 7 threes. Really, that's what he's been doing all year. Can really fill it up. I think he had a 40-point game coming in right before the event. And then even his defense, he was tasked with guarding LeBaron Falan day 2. Didn't do a bad job. It's just whenever you're good like that, it doesn't matter who's defending you. So Bryant did a really good job. But one of my favorite guys that my first time seeing was Devin Barksdale from Jacksonville.
Okay.
Jacksonville's loaded. Got John Broome that's going to South Alabama.
Yep.
And then 2 unsigned seniors, Cameron and Caden Johnson. They're pretty good as well. But I came away really impressed with Devin Barksdale. 6-foot point guard, knows that he's got all these weapons around him. Just knows how to play, makes the right pass, really good in pick and roll situations. And then he can hit the 3 ball too. He did that very well against Austin on day 1. So I was very impressed with him. And then speaking of Austin, I'll throw in Jordan Johnson. He's a junior from Decatur that had some really good moments. He's one I'm going to track, and he'll definitely be in our state rankings for 2024 the next few weeks.
I love it. I love it. We're updating those right now, as I mentioned before, all day long, all week long, really, for not just statewide, but for national as well. Before we get into our next segment, make sure you like and subscribe to this HoopSeen TV YouTube channel. We'll be talking about a lot of stuff, and we're using this channel quite a bit as we move towards our 2023 event season coming up right here on HoopSeen. Let's pivot a little bit. Let's give a little love. And you mentioned some unsigned seniors earlier. Let's give some guys some shine here. If you're a college coach and you're looking for some guys to look at, give me 2 or 3 names that really stood out to you on the unsigned senior category from these events.
So first and foremost, this conversation has to start with Will Hawkins from Sparkman. Just had a great week. And it's really an injustice. I reached out to him yesterday, I believe. He's got one offer right now. It's from Belhaven University. There were several junior college coaches in attendance. He's a no-brainer for me.
Okay.
Just, really defends, gets after it in transition. In the championship game against Baker, he really set the tone defensively and had some big plays above the rim in the first quarter that really put them out ahead, and there was no way for Baker to get back after that. So Will Hawkins, he deserves a lot more than what he's getting. I'll also throw out Drake James, Bryant's brother. Drake coming off an ankle injury, first time he was playing in about a month. Once he got going, really scored the ball well and can distribute it. So I thought he had a good week. And then also Caden Johnson from Jacksonville, a Swiss Army knife, do-it-all guy. I think he's going to make a college coach at the next level really happy. I know he's got several junior colleges showing interest right now.
I love it. If you're a college coach, make sure you check out HoopSeen's search, get into our database, and check out those player profiles, and you learn a little bit more about each of those guys as well as we move into the 2023 calendar year. As we wrap things up here, Garrett, what are there any other news notes from your notepad that we want to talk about here on this week's Tucker Topics?
Yeah, I wasn't only at the Huntsville City Classic. Also went down to Birmingham to Homewood for the Metro tournament. One day saw Vestavia Hills and Coleman in what was touted as a really good game, and it was. Wynn Miller, he's a man on a mission right now.
That guy.
He was really impressive against Coleman, who just throws dudes at you in that Mountain Brook style. They really got after it. Also, Jordan Ross for Vestavia Hills. Okay. He was very good. Learned after the fact through Wynn that he's going to be an SEC football player, and I can see that too. So he's a junior, but he's got all the SEC on him apparently.
I got it.
So
hard to say no to that. Hard to say no to that.
Yes, for sure. He can play some hoops too, though. But that was just a really good game. Both crowds were there. They just really brought in a lot. Actually, after the game and everybody left, it's like, wow. I didn't realize how many were there, but Coleman's got some guys too. Colton Eccles, Jake DeRoe. He's a lot better than I realized. He's a 2025 guard. It's really good. He's on my radar now a little bit more, so I'm excited to see more of him. And then Oak Mountain and Hartselle. Hartselle plays a fun style of basketball, a 1-3-1, and they're not afraid to let it fly. And Oak Mountain's got a couple of seniors. It's not bad. So I'm excited to see more of both of them as well. But yeah, it was a great, all-around great Christmas tournament season.
I love it. I love it. Well, we'll make sure we get you covered. Now that we're into the new year, Garrett's got you covered all the time, not just for Alabama, but really on the Southeast. And, of course, you dip your toes out here in the West as well, which I always appreciate. A little coverage out here for the guys on the West Coast. But we'll get you covered all the time. Garrett, people want to follow you on Twitter. What is your handle that they can go check you out?
Yeah, first and foremost, you can follow on HoopSeen AL for HoopSeen Alabama. And then my personal Twitter is at GTuckerHoops.
I love it. It's been an OG account to follow for, man, Twitter's been around for 10, 12 years. I feel like you've been on there since that got started. When did you get on Twitter, you know?
It was, very early in the process because I know all of my friends made fun of me, thought it was the dumbest thing, and now here we are.
Hey, man, they're probably still back on MySpace being friends with Tom, you know?
Exactly. There you go.
Well, make sure you check out hoopseen.com/events as well. Now that if you're a travel team director or a team mom or a player that's wanting to get some really good exposure on the travel circuit, make sure you check out all of our events. We've got some events coming to Alabama as well. We got the Bama Cup or the Bama Jam, excuse me. We got also the Cup Series is going to be coming to Alabama as well in 23. So we got some really good things for you to keep your eyes on. But the Bama Jam,
Sharpie.
Yeah, get the Sharpie out. I did a couple podcasts. Get it out, circle the dates, and make sure you go register now that we're in the 2023 calendar year. The Bama Jam is a great place to start. We run that there at the Finley Center in Hoover, probably one of the best facilities, if not the best facility in the country. Certainly love that venue, going there every single year or two. So for Garrett Tucker, I'm Justin Young. We appreciate you watching this week's Tucker Topics. We'll see you next week right here on hoopseen.com.